Hey guys, I'm 2D System, and I'm here today to bring you guys a story. See, I found this story a little while ago, and I thought it was pretty funny, so I wanted to show it to my girlfriend. So I did as any reasonable person would do, and I went to YouTube to try to find, one of those Reddit post YouTube channels that, talk about Dungeons and Dragons Reddit stories on YouTube. And as far as I could find, this story does not exist on YouTube, so I am here to bring it to you guys today. Before we get into the story though, I would just like to ask you guys to leave a like, subscribe, comment, do all that good YouTube stuff, and let's go ahead and get into this story. This comes from DM Dad Jokes from a user, Analysis Paralysis 12, 6 years ago. Now, there's a good chance that you may have heard this story already, but if you haven't, here we go. Players wait half a year for a lame joke. Last night saw the culmination of one of my campaign side quests, and since I owed its conception to this very sub, I figured it was only fair for me to share it here. I'm the co-DM for a West Marches style wilderness exploration game, with somewhere between 12 and 16 players. We began the campaign in the middle of last year, and one of the features I introduced from the start was a town notice board, where quests and plot hooks could be advertised somewhat organically. After 3 to 4 sessions, this announcement appeared. We are in the market for the following unusual ingredients: a large onyx gem, or several smaller ones, to the value of around 200 gold pieces, the body of a Jiangxi. For more information, please come to the Mages Guild during business hours and ask for Dr. Wong and Dr. Wong. My players being typical players, they saw the message and promptly elected to ignore it for a good long while. No matter, I had prepared plenty of material. However, about a month ago, I mentioned offhandedly that there were some rings set with the small onyx gems in a treasure hoard. This triggered the memory of one of my players who made special note that he took them. Once they returned to town, the party made their way to the guild and dropped the gems off with the 2 wizards, who revealed that they were visiting necromancers seeking to expand their knowledge of long-lost necromantic techniques and powers. They still needed more onyx and repeated their request for the body of a Jiangxi. As my players discussed what that might mean, I had them roll on linguistics and revealed that a Jiangxi is a regional name for a white. Amusingly, a large subplot the party had been dealing with for months had involved a necromantic artifact raising great numbers of undead, including whites, but the artifact had finally been destroyed scarce weeks earlier. Before, finding a white would have been trivial. Now, though, they were going to have to look for it. Fast forward to yesterday, and the party were clearing out an underground complex which included an encounter with a damned undead. Though not in my original design, it worked to throw several additional foes in there, and so I included a few whites. Upon seeing this, my players lit up with excitement. Surely now they would be able to claim their reward from the necromancers. The encounter was cleared without difficulty, and the party took not 1 but 3 undead corpses with them, returning eventually to town and to the guild. It was getting kinda late at this point, and a couple of the players were ready to finish. However, I encouraged them to stay at least to see the conclusion of the quest. The doctors thanked the adventurers profusely, giving a generous reward and inviting them to stay and watch the ritual. My players, being mildly savvy and suspecting some foul player danger, agreed. I narrated how the Wongs began chanting over the first body, the onyx gems laid out in preparation to be consumed by the spell. The room became dark as the wizards channeled their arcane skill and power into the body. A gem flashed bright and vanished, and they concluded the ritual. However, nothing happened. My players were intrigued now, watching as the 2 necromancers talked among themselves, quietly agreeing that perhaps they had misunderstood the ritual. Maybe if they substituted here, focused there. They began again with the second body. No luck. More consultations. A third, slightly desperate effort. Nothing. Tension hung up in the air. After a moment, the Wongs turned to the party, thanking them kindly for their help, but urging them to leave, clearly crushed by their failure. The party slowly left the room, only to be met by another wizard from the guild, leaning on the wall just outside the chamber. As they saw him, he cocked an arrogant, knowing smile at them. "Didn't work, did it?" "What?" The newcomer raised an eyebrow. In real life, I stood up. As DM, I only stand up for huge campaign moments, the death of a player or major villain, or some major secret pertaining to the entire campaign world. It had not been a very focused session, in all honesty. I had trouble maintaining order and interest, but now they were hooked. Intrigued to see where this was going, I continued speaking. "Yeah, they didn't raise the whites, did they? Tragic, really." Confused, the party stammered questions at him. "Who are you? How do you know what happened in there?" "Me? I work here, doing some minor transmutation studies. As for how I know, well, I mean, it ain't many in my field who haven't heard the tragic story of those two chumps. Some of the finest necromancers of our generation, you know. Their research, their skill, yet, for all that, there's one hurdle they'd never been able to overcome. See, when they were just beginning their studies together, a petty and vengeful being of great power cast a curse on them. A curse that has haunted and bound them all days since. A curse that they will never acknowledge, despite its great power. Aye, for their great skill and all their knowledge, they'll never be rid of this curse. And as necromancers of the highest order, the knowledge of what it has wrought upon them has driven them to the brink of madness and obsession." The table fell silent. It was one of those special moments as a DM that we dream of and treasure, a moment of complete, utter fascination. Everyone knew that something big, something memorable was about to happen. I waited, savoring the complete anticipation, and they waited, confident in my ability to deliver something special, to change the shape of the campaign story with a simple sentence. They were ready for whatever revelation I had carefully crafted, whatever intricate twist I had seen fit to include for their wonder in my hours of extraordinary preparation to this world. I breathed in. Yes, it was time. For you see, it is really quite simple. These poor fools are doomed by this curse so elegant and yet so binding. These two Wongs can never make a white. I delivered this proclamation in utter seriousness, stood for the briefest of seconds, and then bent over with screams of laughter as my players unanimously rose and started shouting at me. I regret nothing. TLDR, I took this post and built an entire quest around it. And that is one of my favorite stories that I've ever heard about any D&D campaign. Maybe not my absolute favorite, but one of my favorites. Just an entire side quest dedicated to a dumb pun. It really is a truly beautiful thing to witness. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that story as much as I did. If you would like to potentially see more in the future, go ahead and, again, like I said, do all the YouTube stuff, and if people like this, I may make more. Until next time, see ya.